as we go green and let's go racing. It is the Speed Car Championship Series. It is music to petrolheads' ears. Those mammoth V8 roaring through. This is brilliant stuff from these mammoth V8 stock cars, speed car racing.
Hello and welcome to the grand headquarters of Speed Car here at Dubai Autodrome for round 4 of the uber successful series. The last round at Lusail's International Circuit in Qatar was the championship's first ever night race, and hopefully the first of many. And the talk of the paddock, without a doubt, had to be the 250cc champion and Valentino Rossi's best friend, Marco Melandri. The two-wheeled ace was 5th quickest in practice and even quicker in qualifying, starting on the grid 4th just alongside Jean Alesi. After a great battle with Zoechling, Marco Melandri finished 8th, becoming the pole sitter in the reverse grid for race 2. After dominating the race and even pulling out a lead of over 5 seconds, disappointment struck and a gearbox problem caused the Italian to withdraw from the race with only 4 laps remaining. The good news is he's back again and trying his luck on the international circuit here at Dubai Autodrome. Well, in qualifying, we have to say the man of the moment was Christopher Zoechling from Austria in the 26 numbered car this weekend. Normally we see him in the 25 numbered speed car. However, this weekend he's changed numbers and it seems to be a great success for him. Quickest lap, 1:41.754. Alongside him on the front row, it is the 27 car of Jean Alesi, also proving that he is one to watch this weekend here at Dubai Autodrome. So second row of the grid, and in third place it is Luigi from Italy in his Union Properties number 20 liveried car, and Hines Frandsen in the 80 car is beside him on the grid. The local man and hero, Nasser Al-Attiyah from the UAE in the other Union Properties team car, number 85, starts on the grid in 5th place, with Gianni Morbidelli, the race winner, in fact the only doubleheader race winner from season 1, is starting alongside him in 6th. On the 4th row of the grid, it's the 69 number of Johnny Herbert from the UK. And beside him, somebody who's returned to the championship this weekend, and this weekend only, David Tyrion, who this season has been the team manager for the Union Properties team. However, with David in the seat, it means that we've lost a driver for the weekend, and unfortunately that is the 96 numbered car of the Canadian man Jacques Vilner, who unfortunately has been unwell this weekend, and that means he's been unable to race. However, joining us again this weekend, the 33 car of Marco Melandri, better known on 2 wheels rather than 4. He managed to qualify 9th, and he is on the grid alongside and just in front of Damien Passini from France. Then looking further down the field, it is Thomas Piaggi starting 11th, Marchi Lee in 12th, Hamad Al-Fardin, whose name you will probably know more from GP2 than from speed car racing. However, Hamad Al-Fardin taking the opportunity this weekend to drive a speed car. He's relatively local, not from Dubai but from Bahrain, so he's local to the region, and he certainly knows the track, having raced here in GP2 Asia just a few weeks ago. As we said, GP2 Asia not with us this weekend, which means that it's given him the chance to step in the car. So 25 is the number for Hamad Al-Fardin this weekend. And last but certainly not least, a man that we know certainly locally in racing here, who normally races in the Radical Championship, and that's the 32 numbered car of Eric Charles. Well, who have we got this weekend? As we said, number 20, a man that we speak about quite often, Antonio Liuzzi from Italy. He started 7th on the grid for the last race, and he managed to get a 1st and 2nd place just a few weeks ago in Qatar for our first night race in the speed car series. So in the Union Property team, it is the number 20 car of Antonio Liuzzi. His teammate this weekend, as always, is the 85 number car of Sheikh Nasser Al-Attiyah from the UAE. He's not had a great deal of experience on 2 wheels or 4 wheels, considering that he's actually local and comparing him to some of the other drivers that are here this weekend, but he's definitely the local hero, so the 85 car of Nasser Al-Attiyah. Looking at the number 33 car, as we said, it's the 250cc world champion. That's obviously on two wheels, Marco Melandri. He started from pole position after a great battle with Christopher Zoechling a few weeks ago, and unfortunately had to retire with gearbox problems. So with Team Lavaggi having a spare seat once again this weekend, they've invited him back in the hope that we may see him on the podium this weekend after losing out just a few weeks ago. So Hines Frandsen, as you may know, is one of the Formula One veterans, having started 160 Formula One races, 18 podiums in his career with 3 wins, and you probably remember him best from being in Williams and Sauber, as well as the bright yellow car of the Jordan as well. So with the 69 car this weekend is Johnny Herbert. Johnny Herbert running with JMB. Johnny Herbert being our champion from the inaugural speed car season. And his teammate this weekend is Damien Passini. Now, Damien has previously run in Italian GT racing. In fact, he was 3rd in 2006 with 14 podiums in a year, which is an awful lot of podiums for a championship. He's also the French bench press champion. Don't ask me how I know that. So, looking further down the field, and the number 10 car of Gianni Morbidelli in his Palm Beach racing team from Italy. He also is known very well for Formula One, having started 64 races while he was with the Formula One Grand Prix World Championship. He also raced in F3 GTs, and probably best known to us for his World Touring Car Championship attempts. Thomas Piaggi in the number 4 car has spent, this is his 3rd weekend with us in Speed Car Series, and he did exceptionally well in his first 2 race events, getting podium finish in both Bahrain and also in Qatar a few weeks ago. And so he is racking up the points, and we'll go over the championship, the Drivers' Championship, in just a few moments. So 27 car, no guesses, it is Jean Alesi from France in his HPR Racing speed car. In the number 50 car, it's Marchi Lee. Now, he had gearbox problems and spent a lot of time playing catch-up just a few weeks ago. You may know him from driving in A1. He was, in fact, the A1 driver for Team China, and he did well in the single-seaters then. He's done relatively well in the championship so far, and we just hope that he's got those problems sorted out for this weekend's race. As we said, we're missing this weekend the 96 car of Jacques Vilner. He's not able to join us because he's not feeling too well, and that's quite unfortunate that he hasn't been able to make it over. However, Christopher Zoechling is doing exceptionally well today, having qualified on pole position. And as we said, he's normally in the 25 car, this time in the number 26 car. He was battling for pole position a couple of weeks ago. He didn't have to do any battling today. He's right up there at the top, starting at the front of the field. So, welcoming back once again, Nasser Al-Attiyah, who, as we said, was running in the number 90 car with Team Barwa just a few weeks ago. Seen him round the paddock, so he's obviously interested in what's been going on. The 44 car this weekend is David Tyrion. David running with Durango, despite having to keep his role up as the UP team manager, and I know that he's been spending a lot of time with Nasser Al-Attiyah over the weekend, giving him a few pointers here at his home circuit. Also in the 25 car this weekend, it's not Christopher Zoechling. As we said, he's moved to the number 26 car, but it is this time Hamad Al-Fardan from Bahrain. He's in the Durango car, normally driving in GP2. And then last but not least, the 32 car of Eric Charles in the Continental Circus Racing team. So as we look at the drivers, we'll just go over the track itself. 4.2 kilometre long is the international circuit here at Dubai Autodrome. 11 turns, 7 of them are left-handers and 4 of them right-handers. A couple of tricky ones in the middle there as well. We'll point those out as we go along. So as the big V8 engines start to roar, we'll quickly go over the Drivers' Championship and tell you that Gianni Morbidelli is currently in the lead on 37 points. 7 points clear of the man in second place. That's wee Johnny Herbert. who is in front of Liuzzi, who's 1 point behind him in third. So it really is a battle for that top spot as we go into round 4 this weekend here at Dubai Autodrome. Looking very quickly further down the field, Hines Frandsen's in 4th in the Drivers' Championship, Jean Alesi 5th, Thomas Piaggi now up into 6th because of his 2 podium successes, Nasser Al-Attiyah in 7th, Damien Piscini 8th, Jacques Vilner of Nice, Christopher Zoechling is in 10th, Marchi Lee 11th, Lavaggi is in 12th, and Marco Melandri picked up a point last time round for his pole position and is 13th in the Drivers' Championships. The good news here locally is that the Union Properties team is now on 42 points, meaning that it is leading the team championship standings by over 4 points. So as we watch the cars making their way round the circuit, we'll keep an eye out. It is, of course, as we said, a rolling start today. And a rolling start a lot better for these cars. Very, very heavy cars, an exception to most of the other cars and bikes that we see on the circuit this weekend, running along with the local championships. And I know that a number of the spectators and drivers and teams alike have all decided to come out and watch the roar of the speed car. You can't really get away from them. They're exceptionally loud. The drivers are exceptionally bright in their overalls, and there's an awful lot of grid girls out there as well. So conditions here today, very, very hot. In fact, it's nearly 35 degrees and climbing as the afternoon goes on. It's just after 3 o'clock local time, which means that it's starting to cool and should cool quite substantially within the 40-minute race. However, it's very difficult for the drivers to concentrate as the heat does soar. Very, very hot inside these cars. Some of the temperatures last year they were recording in the cockpit was 76 degrees. So you can imagine trying to drive and concentrate and battle with not only the roar of the engine, but of course battling the heat as well. So a rolling start. We can see the pace car at the front there, making their way round now past the management building, which is probably the second quickest part of the circuit. The 32 car then of Eric Charles at the back, purple and white. Making their way through the bowl. We said there's some quite tricky technical parts in the middle, and this is exactly where we were talking about. So the pace car pulls off into the pit lane. They've got that last turn. It's turn 16 as we know it here. They look towards the lights, still in formation, and we look to Christopher Zoechling to start the race. So the car is into the pits. The lights are green, and as we can see, it is away, and straight away that's the 20 car of Liuzzi pushing on the tail of Christopher Zoechling down the inside. Further afield, you can see Sheikh Nasser Al-Attiyah with Johnny Herbert getting a good start as well. He's decided to take the outside line. Well, there's no battling in the middle as they come round turn 1, and as you can see, dropping further down the field already is the 32 car of the local man, who is Eric Charles. At the front then, it looks as though the 27 car of Jean Alesi has managed to pull out in front of Christopher Zoechling, as he has with the 20 car of Liuzzi just behind him. I'm not sure who it was in 4th, but certainly in 5th it was one of the Union Property team cars. So Christopher then in the blue liveried speed car, looking to the inside. The nose dips heavy on the brakes. Still the 27 car of Jean Alesi out in the lead. Christopher desperately trying to clamber that position back from him, but anything can happen. It is speed car, and Gianni Morbidelli spins on the inside of that left-hander there as they come up to the management building. That hairpin once again down into second gear for them, and it's very slow as there's a defending line there between Liuzzi in the red and white car and Hines Frandsen on the outside. Johnny Herbert doing as usual and just waiting for battle to commence in front of him. So just under 40 minutes remaining. And in the lead, the 27 car of Jean Alesi, with Christopher Zoechling pulling away from Hines Frandsen in third. So it's Liuzzi in fourth, which means that he's now got Johnny Herbert on his tail, and there's a slight gap as we look further down the field. So we wait for them to come round to complete the first lap. And as we said, it looks as though it's the 27 car maintaining that lead as he does, coming across the line now. So 27, Jean Alesi after the first lap. Christopher Zoechling missing out on the opening sequence. Hines Frandsen up into third, which means that Liuzzi dropped down into fourth. Johnny Herbert making his way up as well. David Tyrion just behind him in sixth. Marco Melandri in seventh already. Well done to him, which means that Sheikh Nasser Al-Attiyah has missed out on the opening lap, pushing him down into eighth. Thomas Piaggi just behind him. Damien Piscini rounding up the top 10, and Hamid Al-Fardan right on his tail. So let's have a look once again. As we said, Jean Alesi in the lead. Just over 37.5 minutes remaining. Christopher Zoechling just over a second behind Jean Alesi. He doesn't have to worry too much about what's going on behind him, because at the moment behind him is that battle between Hines Frandsen, Liuzzi and Johnny Herbert, desperately trying to make his way through. So Liuzzi runs wide, he lets pass not only Johnny Herbert but Hines Frandsen as well, meaning that we should see the battle now between Frandsen and Johnny Herbert. Does this mean that Liuzzi is now got to battle for David Tyrion? Well, David this weekend in the 44 numbered blue liveried speed car. And as you can see, it's almost nose to tail between Hines Frandsen, Liuzzi, Johnny Herbert, and then there's that gap down to David Tyrion, who's just over a second adrift of Johnny Herbert. However, look how close the gap is between Johnny and Liuzzi now. So Liuzzi right on the tail of Johnny. As we see them once again, there's Hines Frandsen. Johnny Herbert follows, less than half a second's difference between the two of them. But look at the distance between Johnny Herbert with that man, Liuzzi, right on his tail. It's 0.025 of a second as they come round again to complete the second lap. Jean Alesi still in the lead, best time of 1:43.425. Christopher Zoechling in second. Hines Frandsen is closing the gap up to Christopher Zoechling, with Johnny Herbert in the mix as well. You can see Johnny again, he's defending his line from the 20 Union Properties team car of Liuzzi, and he's also wanting to battle and take that position away from the number 80 car of Hines Frandsen. 36 minutes remaining, and speed car proving why it is such a successful championship so far. Very good racing and very close battling, not only for the likes of this man, Jean Alesi, who is a veteran in the world of motorsport, especially in Formula 1. And then also you've got the likes of David Tyrion, who is the ex-world karting champion, and behind him his protege Nasser Al-Attiyah. Nasser, as we said previously, not doing a great deal of racing. In fact, he only started 3 years ago in karting, and what an exceptional career he's having so far. So 35 minutes remaining. There's the 27 car of Jean Alesi. So braking into that left-hander. You can see that Hines Frandsen has now pulled that gap from the 69 car of Johnny Herbert. That means that Johnny is now defending his line not only from Liuzzi in the 20 car, but the 44 numbered car of David Tyrion as well, who is now on the tail of Liuzzi. So it looks as though Johnny Herbert's managing to brake a lot later going into the turns. However, as they come once again to complete another lap, it looks as though it is David Tyrion looking down the inside. He wants that position from the Union Properties team car, the one that he's managing. So again, having a look down the inside, can he leave the braking very late? Well, he has done, but not late enough. So the 20 car of Liuzzi just out braking him, but running slightly wide as they come round that second turn. So who comes out first? Well, it's still side by side as they go into the left-hander, which again moves round to the right. So it's Liuzzi's got the line at the moment. Let's have a look at that once again. It's the number 33 car of Marco Melandri, who's had a spin towards the back of the circuit, which means that Marco's now been pushed down into 13th, still ahead of Eric Charles, however. And the fight still continues between the 44 car of David Tyrion, who is now in front of the 20 car of Liuzzi, and that gap has not only been reduced, but there has been a change of positions as well. So Jean Alesi still in the lead, completing 3 laps. Christopher Zoechling in second. He's just over over 2 seconds adrift from the front runner. Hines Frandsen has now reduced that gap from Zoechling to just 1.2 seconds, with Johnny Herbert defending his line from Liuzzi, who has had to defend his line from David Thierrien, who's now out in front. As you can see, Liuzzi not happy about that, and he's desperate to take that position back from the 44 numbered Durango car of this weekend, David Thierrien. As we continue to watch the battle in front of the many crowds here at Dubai Autodrome, 33 minutes remaining into turn 1. And towards the start-finish straight once again, Jean Alesi passes the finish line as we look at a big lock-up there. May have been Nasser Al-Attiyah. Well, maybe it wasn't, as we see Hasher just behind his teammate now, in fact. So Jean Alesi in the lead, Zoechling in second, Hines Frandsen in third, Johnny Herbert fourth, David Thierrien still defending from Liuzzi, who's been pushed down into sixth, Nasser Al-Attiyah just behind his teammate, as you can see, in seventh, with Damien Piscini quite far adrift now, in fact over 6 seconds adrift from Nasser Al-Attiyah. So really the main battle is for third and fifth place. So Johnny Herbert there, just in front of David Thierrien, David on his tail. And we've got another nose to tail. It's between the two teammates of Nasser Al-Attiyah, who's just behind Antonio Liuzzi. And here once again we see Thomas Piaggi damage to the front of his car now. Will that cause a black flag for him? It may do if he continues along the racing line and we see debris being strewn across the track. But for the time being, the damage doesn't look all that bad, and maybe he will be able to continue. Remember, he really wants to finish within the top 8. He's managed a podium every round that we've seen him so far. And Thomas Piaggi, as we said, has made his way quite well up the Drivers' Championship list, now in 6th, just behind Jean Alesi, and that of course because of his podium finishes in the last 2 races. Well, here the 20 car out in front as in P1, but he's out in front of his teammate Nasser Al-Attiyah. So Liuzzi in 6th, Hasher in 7th, and the distance between them is less than half a second, as we see Christopher Zoechling locking his brakes there. He's fighting as hard as he possibly can. He wants to take that position back from Jean Alesi, but Jean Alesi is proving to do exactly what Gianni Morbidelli did at the same time last year, and he's just watching the battles in his mirror and pulling further and further ahead. He's now nearly 3 seconds ahead of Christopher Zoechling, who's in second. He doesn't have to worry too much. Hines Frandsen is still over a second adrift from him, with Johnny Herbert, David Thierrien and Antonio Liuzzi all in the mix for third and fourth respectively. So 30 minutes remaining as we see Liuzzi in front of Nasser Al-Attiyah. You can see the gap, and now there's no gap certainly between the 69 car of Johnny Herbert, who moves to the outside. Is he actually letting David Thierrien down the inside? It looks as though he did. Is he going to try and get the faster line on the inside? Well, this is an area that he doesn't want to miss out on, because David is very quick down this section. It's a very difficult part of the track, not that you can see, but there's a lot of camber on there. It's very quick, and there's a real hump in the middle of the circuit, which means that it unbalances the car, and then it's heavy on the brakes once again as they go through this bowl section towards the final turn. And as they make their way to the final turn, it is now David Thierrien in front of Johnny Herbert. So it is Jean Alesi, Christopher Zoechling, Hines Frandsen, with David Thierrien in front of Johnny Herbert. Liuzzi just behind him, Nasser Al-Attiyah still on the tail of his teammate Liuzzi, with Damien Piscini quite far down now, in fact over 7 seconds, so somebody's hit one of the marker boards. Not to worry though, it's only polystyrene. So there we see the 44 car of David Thierrien, who is now not attacking but defending, as he looks in front of him to this, the number 80 car of Hines Frandsen, who's in 3rd place. Fastest man on the track, incidentally, is Jean Alesi in the 27 car, 142.538, which means that he is the only man to have broken into the 142 barrier. So just under 29 minutes remaining. And as you can see, the closest battle at the moment is between the two teammates in the Union Properties team car of Luigi and Nasser Al-Attiyah, but this is the man at the front. And as we said, quickest lap as well, 1:42.538. It is the 27 car of Jean Alesi. So watching Jean as he manoeuvres his way round the 4.2 kilometre international circuit here at Dubai Autodrome in temperatures of 35 degrees. Just over 28 minutes remaining, and you can't believe that they've been battling for a short time in relative terms to the 40 minutes that they have to. And you should have seen some of the drivers that came out of the local races here just half an hour ago. They were complaining how hot it is, and it's got very hot in just the last few days here at Dubai in the United Arab Emirates. So once again, Jean Alesi in the lead. Christopher Zoechling still hanging on to that second place position, and he's doing very well. He's just 2.9 seconds adrift of Jean Alesi. The man he's going to have to start worrying about is the man who's a second behind him now, Hines Frandsen. And second is a long time in motorsport, but in speed car, you just never know what's going to happen. So once again, Jean Alesi in the lead, Christopher Zoechling in second, Hines Frandsen is in third, David Tyrion has made his way up into fourth, Johnny Herbert fifth, Luigi sixth, Hasher seventh, Damien Piscini in eighth. In ninth, it's Gianni Morbidelli, which is surprising from Gianni, as we've seen him on the podium a number of times here at Dubai Autodrome. Rounding up the top 10, Thomas Piaggi, as we look once again at the front runners. So just over 26.5 minutes remaining. And Zoechling in the 26 numbered car is in second. And we look at his lap times in comparison to Jean Alesi, and he's now going quicker than Jean Alesi. So Christopher Zoechling has just put in a 1:42.8. However, Hines Frandsen on his previous lap is now into the 1:42s as well, and a 1:42.7. So there we see Hines Frandsen, currently the quickest man on track. And as I say that, Christopher Zoechling puts in a time of 1:42.4, which means he's now gone quicker than Jean Alesi, and the time difference between Jean Alesi and Christopher is now 2.5 seconds, with another gap pulling out. In fact, he is pulling out a gap from Hines Frandsen. It was down to a second, it's now over a second and a half. So Zoechling is the man with the quickest lap, 1:42.4, 25.5 minutes remaining. And as you can see quite clearly in the lead, Jean Alesi, however, his previous lap time was nearly half a second slower than that of the 26 numbered speed car, which of course is Christopher Zoechling. Christopher starting on the front row of the grid today, pole position alongside Jean Alesi. However, Jean managed to get a better start than Christopher and overtook him before they even got into the first turn. But Christopher doing well, he's starting to pull back the time difference, as we said, 1:42.4. So here, Johnny Herbert. Johnny in the number 69 car, ahead of Antonio Luigi in the number 20 Union Properties team car. Just behind him is his teammate, Nasser Al-Attiyah. There's now just over half a second between Johnny Luigi and Nasser Al-Attiyah as well. So the blue numbered 44 car of David Tyrion is in fourth. Jean Alesi comes round to complete 9 laps now, with his previous time again slower than Christopher Zoechling. So Christopher not only the fastest man on the track a few laps ago, getting the fastest lap time, but he's also the fastest man on the track at the moment, which makes a big difference. In fact, he's 1:42.732 in comparison to Jean Alesi's 1:42.741. Look further down the field, and Johnny Herbert's the only other man that's in the 1:42s, his previous lap time being a 1:42.8, so you can see how close they really are. So Jean Alesi in the lead. 27 numbered speed car, and the 26 numbered speed car, Christopher Zoechling, in second. Hines Frandsen is in third. David Tyrion determined to get onto the podium in his first weekend out this weekend in the 44 car. Johnny Herbert in fifth. Liuzzi sixth. Nasser Al-Attiyah in seventh. And Damien Piscini in eighth. Ninth at the moment, as we said, which is a surprise, is Gianni Morbidelli with Thomas Piaggi in rounding up the top 10. And as we can see, as we look back to our screens, it is the number 20 car of Liuzzi, who looks as though he's slowed substantially. He does have a puncture to the front right tyre, and that looked as though it was causing certainly a spark somewhere from the undercarriage of that speed car. As you can see, the suspension collapsing under the weight of the punctured tyre. Can he make his way back into the pit lane? He is a whole minute, in fact nearly a minute. He's 40 seconds ahead of Eric Charles and just under 20 seconds ahead of Hamad Al-Fardan. So if they can change that tyre quick enough, then we may see that he can make his way back through the field once again. But that means that Nasser Al-Attiyah has now made his way further up the grid and is now in sixth, just behind Johnny Herbert. So Jean Alesi, Zoechling in second, Hines Frandsen third, David Tyrion now up into fourth, with Johnny Herbert in fifth, Nasser Al-Attiyah sixth, Piscini is now in seventh, Morbidelli is now up to eighth, Thomas Piaggi in ninth, and Marchie Lee now rounds up the top 10. So as we said, it's disappointment for the number 20 car of Liuzzi, Antonio Liuzzi, who unfortunately suffered a puncture on the last lap, and that meant that he's had to come into the pit lane. Fortunately, he's actually made it all the way back to the pits, and as long as he can get that tyre changed and there aren't any other problems to the car, then we may see him rejoin the field with 21 minutes remaining. And anything can happen in speed car in 21 minutes. In fact, anything can happen in speed car in 1 minute, as we look at Johnny Herbert in the 69 numbered car gaining, and he's also quicker in time than the 44 numbered speed car of David Tyrion. 21 minutes remaining, so only half of this race having been completed so far, with the front runner Jean Alesi, who is 2.5 seconds adrift of the man in second place, Christopher Zoechling. So Jean Alesi having completed 11 laps, as has Christopher, Hines Frandsen, David Tyrion, Johnny Herbert, should I say, and Nasser Al-Attiyah. There's quite a big gap then down to Damien Piscini, who is 8.5 seconds off the pace, adrift from Nasser Al-Attiyah, and he's a whole 22 seconds off the pace from the front runner. So here we see, as we said, the 20 car going back out on track after his puncture and making his way into the pit lane. And where does that put him? Well, as we expected, it doesn't put him at the back of the grid, it actually puts him in 13th, just ahead of Eric Charles. Now he's only 2 seconds adrift from Hamad Al-Fardan, despite the fact that he's actually 43 seconds adrift from Jean Alesi, and with just under 20 minutes remaining, he really does have a good chance of making his way through the field. His previous lap times were in the 1:42, and his lap time at the moment a 1:40, in fact a 2:14. However, this is his out lap, and we should see him making his way through the field within the next probably 3 to 4 laps. So we see the two teammates side by side once again. However, they're not side by side as we look down the field. In fact, Nasser Al-Attiyah is in 6th place, and his teammate Liuzzi is in 14th. Now this may be good for Nasser Al-Attiyah, because with Liuzzi, his teammate behind him, that gives Liuzzi the opportunity to almost defend for Nasser and give Nasser the chance to try and pull the time back and make his way towards Johnny Herbert in the 69 car, who's ahead of him, and he's actually 5 seconds ahead of Nasser. So we'll Hasher be able to keep his lap times consistent enough to pull back the time from Johnny Herbert? Well, Johnny's lap times at the moment are in the 1:43s in comparison to Hasher, whose previous lap time was a 1:45.2. As we have a glimpse of the number 10 car of Gianni Morbidelli. So just over 18 minutes remaining. In 7th, Gianni Morbidelli in 8th. There's Marchi Lee in the number 50 speed car. And in front of him, Thomas Piaggi in the PAM racing car. You can see the damage to the front of his car. I'm wondering who he's gone into, and I'm not entirely sure if it was another car. We did see one of the boards having been hit slightly earlier on. Now, they are made of polystyrene, so you'd expect them to be very soft. However, with the warm temperatures and the heat, they dry out and they do actually bake in the midday sun, which means that they do cause damage to some of these cars, and hitting them in just the wrong place could have resulted in the damage to the front of Thomas Piaggi's car. Definitely be asking him before race 2 tomorrow afternoon here at the Dubai Autodrome, the international circuit, 4.2 kilometers long. Let's hope that it's a little